So today we're going to take a look at one of the first pro games using the new Skye without the regenerative flashes on bind. Now, interestingly enough, this game, which is from the Hong Kong Taiwan Challengers League, they're both still playing Skye on bind, as you can see just here. But interestingly enough, they both, I think, have made changes from what would be the meta comp. Both teams are playing 2 initiators, right? So I think the days of solo Skye initiator on this map are somewhat gone, and now we are going to be seeing this, right? So for instance, this top team here, they decided to go, with a Gecko and Skye together. This other team decided to stick with Cypher, go without Viper, and instead play Breach. And throughout the game, there was instances where you could see that the Skye nerf had impacted what was going on in the game, like the start of this round.
做前推，
这就是心理作战，
这个就是心理作战。然后这边 FA 的攻方的 Nasty 拥有一个大绝。 小心火箭炮，狙击灰在近点，没有尝到这个人打了一个2个狙击灰，抓了一个很棒的角度。小陈
Now this first one is a bit of a weird one because I don't quite know why our Skye didn't buy an extra flash here. You see they have 250 credits left and they only have 1 flash. But either way, you can see somewhat the effect that this has, right? Because they start off, they come towards shower, pretty normal stuff, and they send this 1 Skye flash out. Well, that's it, right? We're 3 seconds into the round, you now have no more Skye flashes, right? Which obviously it's like, wow, we now have nothing, right? And you can see this play out though, that when they get to this brim smoke here, watch the Skye. The Skye thinks about, oh, I'll dog, right? If you watch here, look, the Skye is ready to dog this the shower and see what's going on, right? And try and clear all this out, which obviously would do much more effectively than the boombot is going to. But they probably think, I don't want to use the dog right here because I have no flashes, and if I use the dog right here just to take shower, you know, we've then got nothing, right? Like, I've got nothing left. So instead, they decide to take the risk and just go with the boombot instead. But obviously, we see that the boombot obviously doesn't clear nearly as well as the dog, and you get 2 kills. Skip ahead a couple of rounds, and we actually get the exact same scenario playing out, where our Skye and our Raze here are both, again, going to come to showers, and you see that early flash come out again. Out here towards shower, right? And we're actually going to get the same defensive brim smoke in here as well. And now the Skye and the Raze again coming up to this situation. Obviously, we've been here before. This time they have the second flash, so they're going to go for the second flash, right? But again, what I want to point out here is they're also going to breach stun just there. You see just there, but they use their second flash. We now have, no flashes on our Skye. I just want you to imagine now, imagine if we didn't have another initiator, right? Imagine if this was it. Imagine like we've now got no flashes for the rest of the round. And we're 10 seconds into the round, and all we've done is taken shower. Right? Like, that's how big this Skye nerf is. Like, it does make it so that I don't see a way you could possibly play solo initiator Skye really anymore on really maybe any map. Because it's just not enough. If you end up in these situations too often, you've now got, like, nothing. You've got no flashes now if you were playing solo Skye. But on the defensive side for Skye as well, there's going to be a big shift in terms of how we play this map, right? For instance, let's take a look at this round, round number 15. And our Skye, again, because of economical concerns, only has 1 flash. So you flash out here early towards B long, as everyone does all the time. But that's it. You now have no more flashes in this round, right? And again, that is a massive, massive deal, right? And so what that means is, and you will see this, I think, a lot more from Skye's playing in this position, is we're just going to jiggle peek this, or we're going to jump peek this, like you can see the Skye is doing right now. This is something that happened before, but now it's going to happen all the time. It's going to be happening all the time because you just don't have that kind of constant stream of info coming in. And so one thing that might become pretty good against these Skyes is attacking ops, because of course anytime anyone is consistently having to jiggle peek or jump peek something, an attacking op is a great way of punishing them. And so how can we maybe defeat some of these deficiencies? Well, one of the teams that was playing Cypher did have a decent idea, right? Where instead of having the Skye constantly jiggle peek all of this, they come up with a bit of a trap play using the Cypher cam to look down here. They got the breach ready to stun as well with the Skye flash. But again, one thing that I think you're going to see a lot of, particularly early on, is, we get 1 Skye flash out, that comes early. We get the attacking Viper Orb down here towards B long. And this is something that I think it will take some time for these Skye players to adjust to, is that you can't be antsy. You have to be very deliberate with when you are using your utility, because you'll see that in a second, we're just going to Skye flash anyway, right? Like, even before the camera, obviously, it doesn't see anyone because we can see that no one is down there. They're just going to go for it anyway and just hope someone's there. But now that's it. right? Like now we have no flash, right? It's over again. And so one thing that these guys are going to have to learn is to be a lot more patient than we just saw. But I do suspect that that will take at least a little bit of time. And then from a bigger picture macro standpoint, particularly on bind, I think we might see more rounds like this.
地图稍微偏中间的地方，那个走路的步数是有一定程度的差距的，因为它会影响着你要不要大跑。
对。
又或者是你这个 camp 放下去，拿到情报之后，能不能供你的队友安全的 TP 回来？所以它影响的东西是非常的多的。
因为边线的2个选择就是，你要么就是像他刚刚那样子，你静音进到底，然后最后去摸对面屁股；要么就是你得给对面 B 点回防的人压力。
对，
那最好的方法就是，如果你想要静音进到底的话，那你就得站护卡，你距离 A 点会更近，然后你也可以更早拿到情报。就如果 B 点只要有人跳啊，只要有人跑啊，你可以第一时间就知道。
对 ，OK， 那这边 OF 还是想要利用之前的打法，用 Viper 的毒烟毒墙摸到近点之后爆一波技能，来换取对方的 A 点，成功换掉了一个 Nasty。然后后续阿鲁克想要来打1打1，成功打赢，这个其实很关键。那后续整体攻方的成员，
还没安。
哦，对，包还没按下来，然后现在才改按下去。这个时候还有狼风先打1个，但打2个吗？没有打2个，稍微有点抛枪。居辉 Hyper 震到之后还是反了一个 Rapid Q 的人头，来到了2打3，1打1很关键，能不能打赢后续？居辉没办法，然后这边用 Hyper 帮助了其他队友打掉了韦伯，只剩下一个9933来迟，想要点掉长椅的人头没点掉。
1打3有没有办法？
这边选择打到最稳 ，OF 不给任何机会。点了一下包，看了一下没有，先打1个油，知道2个人的位置，再选择点一下包，再打1个，只剩下4发，已经不打了，只剩下3发，还是没有能换到人头，时间已经一点一滴的在流逝，最后由 Hyper 从侧面的浴室。
But what did I mean in terms of these kind of rounds? Well, what I meant was in terms of a macro standpoint, playing pretty slow, because if we take a look at when the spike is actually going down here, and there's still 46 seconds left on the clock, if we take a look at, the defender's utility, you're playing against a Brim, you're playing against a Wraith, you're playing against a Skye. Now all of these agents don't regenerate utility, right? So, once these Brim, Molly, and Brim smokes are gone, that's it. They're gone, right? Once all the Rage util is gone, it's gone. Once the Skye util is now gone, it's gone as well. So if you can bait it out and play pretty slow, by the time that this retake is starting to come in, they're having to do it, like that, with just dry swings. That's all it's going to be from this point on, and that makes a retake pretty hard. But with that said, there is one other thing that I've had to explain multiple times before that happened in this game that I just want to show everyone because I think it's a pretty good example of what I'm talking about, and that is that after you win a round, you definitely should not save. So it starts here in round number 15, right? And we're going to see that our Breach here, who's on the defensive team, he's going to win this round, right? And they're going to win the round, but then that team is going to save the round after. And I'm going to show you why that is such a bad idea, right? So there you go. There's the Breach winning the round. You see he survives just there. And now as we go forward into the next round, you can see that we're going to go into a save round, right? So we only have sheriffs and a Bucky and a sheriff down here, but our Breach has his rifle, obviously, that he saved. Why is this such a bad idea? Because I bring this up quite often, and a lot of people always ask me, like, what's the explanation for this being such a bad idea? Well, here you're going to see it play out, as it often will when you make that decision, right? So, why is it a bad idea? Well, the first thing is, after you win and you decide to save, you're going to end up with this kind of save. Right, where, yeah, sure, the person who survives, they got whatever gun they had before, but, it's not a good save for the rest of your team, right? We got a Bucky, we got sheriffs, there are different levels of saves, right? Sometimes you'll save, but you'll have a Bulldog, or you'll have, a Judge, or a Spectre, or a gun that actually has a chance, right? And obviously you can get kills with sheriffs or whatever, but this is not a good save. Right, and the reason for that is because you're actually only getting the first loss bonus, right? You actually haven't lost a round yet, so you're only going to get 1,900 credits, for your minimum next round. So you really can't buy that much. So that's the first thing is you don't get a good buy, you don't get a good save. But your opponents, in this case, they do decide to buy here, and that means that as we run this round forward, they actually end up winning this round, I think, with 4 people alive, right? And so there's the first kind of thing, right? The economy is not a 1-player game, it is a 2-player game, right? And so when this round eventually ends just here in a second, you see that they've still got 4 people alive. And what that means for them is it means that their economy is now very good. As we skip forward to the next round, you can see that now their economy is booming, right? They've got money for days now. because they had an easy round against your save round, right? So whenever you save, really, you have to keep that in the back of your mind, but particularly when you have a bad save, right? And now, you know, we're into our full buy round, the round that we save for, but the problem is that we have to win this round, right? Because if we don't win this round, we're in a lot of trouble, and I will show you, because they don't win this round, right? And this is a 50-50 round, right? You have a chance to win. Of course you do in this kind of round, but if you don't win it, you're in a lot of trouble. In fact, this is like a game-losing play in a lot of situations, because if we come to what happens in the next round, you can see, again, you're in a lot of trouble because, again, your save is an awful save. Now, why is that the case? Well, the case is because you've only got 2,400 credits. You aren't even on max loss bonus yet because you didn't actually lose the first time that you saved, right? So you aren't actually getting that many credits yet either, which means that, again, you're on an awful save, which, again, then compounds the problem again when what happens in this round is, again, you lose the round. Obviously, that's bad. But also what's going to happen at the end of this one is, again, 3 people from the opposing team are going to survive at the end of this round. And again, that compounds again to, by the time we get to the next part of this, you can see their economy is booming. They've got multiple players now with a ton of credits, right? An absolute ton of credits. And what that's going to mean is, as we run forward in this, yeah, now you've finally got a buy, but you've lost 3 rounds in a row. And even though, you know, they end up kind of making a comeback and we go to overtime in this game, this team never has to save because of the way it went, right? And to me, that all came about because we saved after we won a round. And we can go back to that initial round and see, like, well, what could they actually have bought, right? Like, how bad was it really for them in that initial round, you know, when they chose to save? Because the thing is, yeah, it wasn't great, right? It really wasn't great for them. You're going to see they didn't have a ton of credits. So you might think like, oh, it makes sense to save here. But let's just go through it, shall we? Because we can add up the numbers here and see that, okay, if we add these up for the Brim, just here, you can see the Brim had 3,400 credits to spend. The same here for the Cypher. The Rays would have had 3,100. This Breach had 3,750. And the Skye here as well had 3,100. And you're probably looking at numbers like 3,100 and being like, that's not enough to buy, right? You can't even buy a rifle and light shields with that. So, you know, of course they had to save here, right? Well, no, because here's what they could have done instead, right? Our Breach has 3,750. Let's focus on that first. He's bought full shields for some, I don't know why. But if he goes light shields and just forgoes 1 flash, he can buy an aftershock, 1 flash, light shields, and buy someone else a rifle. So there's 2 rifles already, right? And then, yeah, sure, for these guys with 3,400, your Brim has a bit of a decision. Could forego utility and just buy a smoke and then maybe go for a rifle light shields if they want to. Your Cypher on 3,400 probably does need to buy, you know, defensive utility here. Otherwise, you know, that why are you playing Cypher, right? But can still get a Bulldog or something. And then for another player, you could get a Judge. So you could end up with, you know, 2 rifles, a Judge, and, you know, a Bulldog or 2. Right? You might even end up with 3 rifles if your Brim wanted to. This is better than the alternative, right? This is going to be better than the alternative for you. You know, a Judge on defense side bind, that shouldn't need to tell you, is good, right? It's just going to be good. And that buy, you still can win a round defense side bind with that buy. Like, you can. The thing is, if you choose to save, the risk that you're taking is that it's not just your economy that it's bad. You're boosting your opponent's economy so much to the point where if we start getting into late stages of the game, they never have to save, even if you win multiple rounds in a row, because they built up such a bank because you kept giving them free rounds earlier on. So yeah, the takeaway from this video, 2 points. 1, Skye is a lot worse, and you need double initiator probably anytime you are now playing Skye. And 2, don't save after you win a round.